Here we are. Good evening, everyone. If you're there, let us know. Give us a comment, give us a wave if you're there.
I'm just having a check to see if this is
We've
actually
got one
working.
person with us. Who's our first guest?
Who have we got?
We're just going to let a few more people join us. Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome to the book launch. It's great to have you with us. So, how's everyone doing tonight? First night of lockdown, no better way to spend it than to be here with the book launch. I'm here with my fantastic co-host, my wonderful wife, Lucy.
Hi, everyone!
And hopefully you know, and if you don't, my name is Michael James Harvey. I am the author and creator of The World of Astron. And this is my creation, and this book launch tonight is for my third and final book in the Oron Amular Trilogy. It's called Power Unimaginable, and we are so excited.
Yay! It's finally out! The trilogy's finally finished. Yay! We are so excited to introduce you to what finally happens, although we will not be giving any spoilers away for the ending of book 3, which is epic.
Definitely, and we had such a lot of fun last time. This is not our first time doing a virtual book launch. It's the last time I published a book, we went into lockdown, and it's happened again, but here we are.
Good thing there weren't 4 books.
yeah, it would happen again, you know, wouldn't it? But we had a great time last time. So help others find us tonight by liking, commenting, sharing. You know, it all helps boost the visibility. So help us draw people in. I'm going to have a fantastic time tonight.
So some hellos. Hi, Holly Miller, Charlotte, Rob Allen.
Hi, guys.
Sue. Hi, Hilary Walker.
Who have we got? Hi, Hilary. Hi, Rob. Hi, Holly.
Hi, Sandra. Thomas Hill. Hi, Thomas.
Tom, good to have you with us.
Trudy, Andrew Chamberlain, Lizzie Walters. Hi, Lizzie.
Hi, Lizzie.
Ian. Hello, father-in-law. Love you.
So a big warm welcome to you all. Thank you so much for joining us, and more people are joining all the time.
So before we begin, we have one big hello and thank you. Hello, Bev.
Hi, Bev, if you're there.
And thank you very much for...
Hey, Decca. Hi, Abby.
This epic Oron Amular cake that you made to celebrate the launch. And can you see that amazing mountain that she's made? And behind us, you can see the book cover for book 3, which is the same colours and the mountains. That's amazing.
I have no idea how you start making a cake like that. That's incredible.
It's huge. It's really heavy as well. Thank you so much. We are very much looking forward to tucking into that.
And we will need some help eating it, but thank you. So listen, the first thing you need to know tonight is that we're doing a live prize giveaway tonight. Ooh. So for your chance to win a copy of Power Unimaginable, all you need to do is tag a friend in the comments feed. Anyone you think should read this book or who likes a good adventure story, who needs to read these books? Start tagging them now. You can get up to 5 entries into the draw, and we'll announce the winner later on.
So get tagging.
So this is all about the third book tonight, and it's called Power Unimaginable, the final part of the Oron Amular trilogy. First off, we had The Call of the Mountain, book 1, where we find out about Kaluthiel's tournament. We meet our heroes and the quest begins. Then the adventure continued in book 2, Rite of Passage, where our heroes had to earn their access to Oron Amular with a daring rescue against all the odds. And now, finally, book 3, Power Unimaginable, will complete the trilogy. Here's the fantastic cover design, which I think might just be the best of the 3. We've had cool burning ships, then a bird of prey, mountainscape, and now we have the mountain, Oron Amular. And in the foreground you can see our heroes approaching. They're ready for that long anticipated tournament. So a big thank you to the designer Esther, and also to Sarah for art direction. I think it looks fantastic. It's a fitting way to round things off. But let us know in the comments, which is your favourite cover out of the 3. It's just so fantastic to hold them all in my hands here now.
They look great. They look really brilliant, don't they? They look really, really good. I love the colours on them. I love that colour scheme.
It's good. So don't forget to tag your friends for a chance to win a free copy of the book tonight. You can tag up to 5 friends. Keep it coming. Now, it's nearly a year now since this adventure began with the release of Oron Amular, Book 1, The Call of the Mountain. Many of you were there with me that night, and you heard my story of a 17-year quest for publication. Now, another book launch and a pandemic later, I'm delighted to say that the story is finally complete. Thank you to everyone who's come on this journey with me. I'm so thankful for all the support and encouragement of many people along the way. Thank you for every purchase, every review, every share, every shout out, every plug. It all means so much.
Oh, Linda Hall. Hello.
Someone's trying to call. And so thank you all for being with us here tonight. After The Call of the Mountain in November 2019, I can't believe that's a year ago now. Can you
Was that
believe
really a year ago? Oh my goodness,
Time
that was
flies.
such a fantastic evening, wasn't
One
it?
of the best evenings of our lives.
That was amazing.
So after that, Book 2, Rite of Passage, came out in May 2020. And now with Book 3, Power Unimaginable, the trilogy, Oron Amular, reaches its climax. So, as you can see, I've been quite busy this year. But to remind us how the story began, here is the summary of Book 1, read by the lovely Lucy.
So, in The Call of the Mountain, our adventure begins. Seeming chance has brought together the King of Maristonia and a mysterious wayfarer. In the city of Mariston, they join forces to answer the summons of Coluthiel, the Mage Lord, to a tournament at the Forgotten Mountain of Oron Amular. Lords, knights, and champions from many lands have been invited to compete at this ancestral home of high magic. The prize on offer, Power Unimaginable, is proving irresistible to those thirsting for adventure and power. King Cerulean is no different, though his motives might be nobler than some. Yet for all his strength and reputation, he does not know how to find the mountain. The wandering conjurer Rujark offers his services as a guide, for he has a business of his own at Oron Amular, and he has received a summons of a very different kind. Together they set out and, braving many dangers by road and sea, they embark upon the quest of Oron Amular. Yet they've not gone far before troubling news disrupts their plans. Circumstances force Cerulean to take new counsel among the Wood Elves, who live on his borders. Beneath the eaves of the ancient forest of Tolankil, he hears confirmation of the news that has troubled him. Despite the misgivings of Lansoir, his captain of guards, he pledges to rescue the elf princess Saria, who has fallen into the hands of the evil mountain-dwelling Harrocks. His quest is no longer quite so simple, but is there also opportunity to be found in this dangerous diversion? So, Book 2. In Rite of Passage, Book 2 of the Oron Amular Trilogy, Cerulean and his companions venture into the mountain realm of an ancient enemy to attempt a rescue of the elf princess Saria. Battling both the elements and the enemy, they soon find themselves in dire straits. If they succeed against overwhelming odds, then their reward will be permission to cross ancient Kalimar in search of Oron Amular, the mountain of high magic. With many adventures still to come, a storied landscape still lies between them and a hidden mountain where the tournament awaits. Dun dun dun!
Absolutely.
Also, in that you got quite a lot of an idea about how you pronounce some of these names.
Absolutely, yeah. So we've seen some tagging going on. There are plenty of entries into the quiz. Don't forget, you can all tag 5 people each. You've got 5 chances to win the book, so keep those tags coming. I hope you've enjoyed and read the first 2 books. If you have, please take a few minutes to rate and or review them on Goodreads. It's quick and easy, and it really helps. Reviews are so important for showing other people that the book exists and that it's worth reading. It just helps it get maximum visibility and exposure. And don't worry, your review doesn't have to be highbrow or sound fancy. Just say what you think. Even a couple of sentences is all it needs. So please, go to Goodreads, rate and review any of my free books. And if you happen to be on there, you might notice that they're doing their 2020 awards. So please consider nominating my books in the fantasy category.
Ooh, that's exciting.
I know, yeah. So to get us all on the same page, Lucy is going to read us the blurb for Book 3, Power Unimaginable.
We're ready here. Cerulean and Rujark have reached Oron Amular. And together with the other contestants, they pass under its dark gates to enter the tournament of Coluthiel, the Mage Lord. Here, in the ancient home of the League of Wizardry, they must find a way to survive everything that is thrown at them and win through to the promised prizes. Who will emerge the victor, and which of them can uncover the true purposes of their enigmatic host? When the true stakes are finally revealed, will power unimaginable be enough?
Now, does that sound good? Anyone else getting goosebumps? I hope you're all chomping at the bit to dive in and find out what happens. So I'd love you all to buy the book and enjoy the complete trilogy. I've got a stack of signed copies ready to sell. We've got loads to give away, so please take them off our hands. We don't need as many. But thank you to everyone who's already ordered direct from me. If you've pre-ordered, then your copies are either in the post or they will be in the post very soon. And I hope you look forward to receiving them. When you get them, give it a tag online, let people know they've arrived. Now, you can get Power Unimaginable from all online booksellers, all good booksellers. And if you haven't ordered one yet, what are you waiting for? But there are several advantages to coming to me direct. Firstly, you will get a signed signature copy.
Very valuable in a few years' time.
We hope so. Secondly, you get the chance to dedicate it to yourself or someone else. That makes a great gift if it's not for you. And thirdly, it's just so much better for me as an author. So that would really help support me as I start in this new career. It's a bargain at £10 and even better value for people who bought books 1 and 2. My fantastic fans can get it for just £7.
Oh, that's good.
Just £7.
Wow.
So I really appreciate the support of fans who buy direct. So if you'd like one, drop a comment now and we'll sort it out. Thank you.
Yeah, and don't forget to keep tagging people with the chance to win the prize giveaway. So, what can you expect from book 3? Well, here's what fans have been saying about the story so far. Quotes such as, "Bigger and better than ever, I could hardly put it down.
That's what I like to hear.
Beautifully written. The adventure is really gathering momentum." That one, actually, I definitely agree with that one. It really building momentum.
You get that sense? That's good.
Definitely get that sense.
Good stuff.
Gathering momentum. We're all ready for the climax in book 3, which is epic. What else? I cannot wait for the third and final book in the series, and I'm very excited to see how it will round off. Yes, aren't we all?
Yeah, if you agree with that, just show your like on the comment feed. I read every single review and they all mean a great deal to me, especially kind words like these. Just keep those reviews coming. Thank you. I just love seeing how much people are enjoying my books.
Yeah.
That's a real dream come true in itself. Not just being able to have it out there, but people to really be lapping it up. And just to see how excited people are for the finale. They've been chasing me for months. They really desperately want to get their hands on it, which is fantastic. So listen, basically everything you liked about the first 2 books will be in book 3 as well, only more so. It really is bigger and better. Literally, it's the biggest of the 3 books in both physical size and page count, but also in its imagination and its epic scope. You'll be entering the millennia-old home of the League of Wizardry, a place of wonder and marvels that will blow your minds. Walk with our heroes as they face what Mage Lord Coluthiel has prepared for his tournament. You have no idea what's in store, but you can expect lots of magic, lots of action, lots of adrenaline. This is high-octane, non-stop adventure. So strap in, because I can promise an explosive ending. And if you like battles and edge-of-the-seat heroics, you won't be disappointed. Now, I just want to take a moment to stop and say it is dedicated to Ian and Lucy, or as I call them, Dad and Mum. And I just want to take a moment to say a special thank you to you, because without your support, none of this would be happening. Thank you so much. I love you guys.
Mwah.
And in book 3, maybe Lucy, you can show the features. You're not just getting the end of the story, but loads of cool added features as well. So we've got the hand-drawn and digitally remastered maps from the first 2 books.
Is that in the front or the back?
Right at the beginning.
Oh, right at the beginning. That's good. I loved having a map at the beginning. It's
Always
good
need a good
to be
map.
able to follow it.
And at the end is a fantastic character guide in alphabetical order to remind you who everyone is and also how to pronounce their names. So if you've been having any difficulties, keep your thumb here when you're reading and it will tell you exactly how to say these names.
I was just about to show you the character list, or the very first page of the character list, but it's opposite the last page of the book, and I do not want to give that away.
No.
Here's the character list. And yeah, it's really cool because it's got a pronunciation guide, and it tells you what
race they are, where they come from.
Where they're from.
You can find out more about them on the website. But there's also a guide to the races of Astron, just in case you don't know what Armists are, or you don't know your Wood Elves from your High Elves. Check that out. Some really interesting background material there.
I think that's really exciting that you've got the races in there, because you've created several of them from scratch, and there's some that can be found in other fantasy stories.
But I have my own take on them.
You've got your own take on them. You've rewritten them in a new way, which I think is really exciting, and it's really cool to have that explanation from you in the back about what your characters are doing and how they're different to other people's, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, so lots of added extras for you. And not only that, but I've been busy expanding my website, worldofastron.com. There's a whole world to explore here, guys. There's a glossary, A to Z, character guide to tell you more about everything that you'll meet in these books. So definitely check it out. Subscribe there to never miss a post on the Astron blog.
Yeah, so as well as writing these 3 books, Mike has been working very hard on that website. So often I'm like, which bit of the writing are you doing this evening, Mike? Are you working on the book? Are you working on the website?
It's definitely hard to keep track of it all. But yeah, don't forget to tag up to 5 friends if you haven't already. Every tag gets you an entry into the prize draw to win a copy of the book. Stay tuned and we'll announce the winner very soon. So now, time for our first book reading. Just let me get my best reading voice on for you. Let me tell you a story. Join me at the foot of Oron Amular. The contestants have just entered the mountain with no idea of what might be lying in wait. Inside the mountain, the darkness was complete. For the first few steps, they had been aided by the faint moonlight outside, long enough to see that they were in a tunnel. But very soon, they must have turned the corner, for even that small light was lost, plunging them into utter blackness. Rujark's eyes strained uselessly against the darkness, but he couldn't even see his hand in front of his face. He could hear, though. Hear the sounds of others blundering blindly up ahead, of feet scuffling and armour clinking, of curses muttered under various breaths and the nervous calls of one to another. Yet even these sounds seemed to fade after a while, as if the various parties were being separated and devoured by the terrible darkness, one by one. Rujark reached out his hand to feel for the tunnel wall, but it was further away than he thought. Straining for it, he nearly fell over before coming to rest against it. To his surprise, the rock wasn't rough, but smooth to touch. Feeling with fingers and feet, he found that both the wall and the floor were smooth as polished gems and flat as paving slabs. No blemishes or snags could he find. But he had only gone a few doubtful steps when he bumped into something. It was one of his companions. Clutching the arm, Rujark felt the Armists quivering. "Who is that?" he whispered, hearing his words vanish in the swallowing darkness. "Alanus," came the barely audible reply. In fact, they were all there, stopped dead in the middle of the tunnel. Groping darkness was before them and behind them, above them and below them. The air was thick with potency, harsh to taste and seeming to tingle on the tongue and fingertips. In the face of this invisible barrier, the lion-hearted Armists faltered, unnerved and uncertain. Here, normal boldness was of no avail. Even Cerulean was at a loss. When Rujark discovered the king by touch, he found him still and tense, staring into the impenetrable darkness. Long moments passed in silence, with only the sound of shallow breathing hanging in the air. Slowly Rujark stepped forward. The air seemed to be full of whispering spirits, murmuring long-forgotten secrets and creeds. He was terrified, but the feel of this place, heavy, forbidding, mysterious, was slightly less daunting for him than for his companions. He felt some sort of affinity with it. He stepped forward into the watchful air, having to drag himself against unseen resistance. Even with so little a step, he had moved out of sight of his companions, but after a heartbeat or two, the king moved up behind him. Cerulean was completely out of his comfort zone, but his courage was conquering his fear. Lancois defaulted to sticking as close to his king as possible, and each Armist followed suit, all afraid of being left behind in the gloom. Rougearc had them link hands and stretch out so that they could fill the tunnel, touching it on either side. Yet it was wider than any of them had imagined, a vast corridor fit for princes. The wide space quite belied the sluggish movement of the airs and cheated noises which seemed not to behave as normal. But stretched out and hands joined, they felt slightly more at ease and proceeded cautiously forward. Reluctantly the blanket darkness gave way before them. Now and again they felt the tickle of some wind filtering down from an unseen vent above their heads, and occasionally they caught muffled sounds from ahead. With a veritable army they might have expected to hear more, but the sounds just weren't carrying. Nerves tautened like harp strings, and hairs stood on end as each member of the company began imagining what had already befallen their competitors. Their powers of reason and deduction seemed to have been left behind outside, like their courage, so they found themselves at the mercy of their senses, quite convinced by the distortions that were being reported to them by eyes, ears, and noses. The cool night from outside had been replaced by a stuffy heat, such that beads of sweat started to form on their brows and hands, and they twitched and crackled as if toyed with by delinquent sparks in the air. They followed the tunnel, feeling it bend and twist in slow, deliberate curves. The darkness seemed to lessen an iota, or so their hopeful eyes claimed, but still nothing definite could they see. Their feet were more certain in reporting a gradient, and following that long smooth slope they came to a place where the tunnel walls gave out on either side. The air suddenly felt very different. Still queer and laden with intent, it now scurried about and carried sound more easily. They began to hear other groups about them. Suddenly sounds seemed to be all round them, boots scuffling, scabbards banging, leather creaking and mail clinking, heavy breathing and sniffing. The place was teeming with life. Voices began to call to each other, some in fear, some in suspicion. Then an almighty clatter split the air as two metal objects collided. The Armists drew close and stuck together in a tight group, but even so they bumped and jostled with unseen neighbours. Rougearc felt the tension ratcheting up inside him as he groped blindly in the intolerable darkness. He felt enclosed and exposed at the same time. With every second he feared a collision, or a sly knife sliding out of the jet-black air. Panic was building up within him, ready to burst out in a shrill scream, when all of a sudden a silver flame burst into life. Poof! Up above them it seemed to hover in mid-air. Then another joined it, and another. Poof! 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 In the blinking of a suddenly seeing eye there was a ring of silver fires up about them. In their velveteen light the inhabitants of the hall might have seen one another, except they were all straining their eyes upward. Glimpses they caught of ancient grandeur, carvings, friezes and sculpted vaulting, all dancing in a firelit ceiling high above. The fire seemed to burn out of sconces set on some sort of raised gallery. Just as the contestants were adjusting to take in this vague information, a blinding light filled the roof like sheet lightning. A moment later there came a multi-layered boom like rolling fireworks. Then cascades of iridescent sparks were falling among them. Those who had the presence of mind raised their shields to ward off the hazard, but still many eyes were dazzled and not a few burns caused. Yet the sparks had not been without purpose, for their passing had ignited wall torches all around the place, and now there was enough light to see by. Not enough as could be wished, but enough to fit everything else together. The contestants were now able to take one another in, resuming their uneasy acquaintance after what seemed like an eternity. Together they found themselves in a vast and glamorous cavern like the ante-room of a strange, old palace. It was a perfect circle, flat and smooth and painted in colour that one moment seemed terracotta and then mahogany the next. There were portraits and engravings everywhere, depicting strange scenes of wizards and magic. Above these murals, which were uncannily lifelike, there swept a lip of bronze crowning and encircling the walls. Beyond that lip there seemed to be a circular walkway lost out of sight. The only thing marking the head of the chamber was a little indent in the bronze lip, where a small balcony jutted out. So awed by their surroundings were they, that it was some time before the contestants noticed the lone figure standing there, still as stone.
Oh my goodness. Like, how much of that did you write based, like, from nightmares and things? Oh my goodness, all of that, like, dark and being enclosed.
Did I make you feel it?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, that was so much there. I was thinking, is this inspired by nightmares?
No, not literally, but it's all stuff I've dreamt up, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So there will be another book reading later, and we've got loads of exciting things still to come up. Don't forget to order your copy so that you can find out what happens next. Just drop a comment to order a signed copy.
Yeah, and for those of you that have joined us, hello.
Hello.
If we haven't
Great
already,
to have you with us.
if we haven't already said hi to you at the beginning, hello everyone. And you can be in with a chance for a prize giveaway to win a copy of book 3. All you need to do is tag 5 friends to be in with 5 chances to win, and we will be announcing the winner of that later on.
Absolutely.
So in the meantime, we have got something special for you. Who wants to do a quick quiz? Yay! We've prepared our very own World of Astrom quiz for you. We've got 10 questions, and the answers are all in books 1 and 2. Thought that would be a little bit mean.
So if you haven't got them, go and get them quickly now.
Yes, go get them now so you can quickly flick through. Thought it would be a little bit mean to give you any questions from book 3, so
Yeah, that
don't
would be
worry.
fair.
Just books 1 and 2.
Next time.
They have also been checked, so they're hopefully not too difficult. So yes, we're going to do a quiz. We will read out the quiz questions, and we'd like you to email your answers to worldofastrom@gmail.com. So you're not putting them in the comments and then people
Otherwise
stealing.
you'll just be helping everyone else.
Yeah, be stealing your
So
answers.
email them to worldofastrom@gmail.com.
So we will read out the questions, and then get ready to email your answers, worldofastrom@gmail.com by 9 o'clock, and then we will announce the winner. So if no one gets all 10, the prize will be for the person who gets the most right. And if there's a tie of the same number of answers, then the winner will be the person who gets all their answers in first. Okay, so we will be announcing that a few minutes after 9 p.m. Remember, that is worldofastrom@gmail.com.
I think we've got it now.
Yeah. Thank you. And Malcolm Down and Sarah Grace Publishing have just put that in the comments as well if you want to
Great. Thanks,
know
guys.
the rest of that. So, ready? Here we go.
Good luck.
Apparently this is an easy one to start off with. Obviously written by somebody who knows
Yeah.
this very, very well. What country is Cerulean king of? What country is Cerulean king of? I'm just thinking that like a multiple choice might have...
Maybe we'll do that next time.
There's a slight clue. You can find it in the books.
Pretty sure it's on the blurb as well. So it's really not that hard.
Okay, so what country is Cerulean king of? Number 2, Cerulean's son and heir is still just a boy. What is his name? So what is the name of Cerulean's son and heir? Oh, Emily Boyd is just saying she's got to dash off. Love you.
Thanks for coming, Emily. Take care.
Yeah. Cerulean's son and heir is still just a boy. What is the name of Cerulean's son and heir? Andrew Chapman, where's that map? You've got till 9 p.m. to find it.
Worldofastrom.com.
Okay. Who was Saria captured by? So who captured Saria?
We mentioned it earlier, if you were paying attention, and I'm pretty sure that's on the blurb of book 2 as well. So, yep, it's in there.
Oh, okay. So,
Or in the summaries at the beginning. So,
who was Saria captured by? Number 4. What is the name of the mountain city that takes centre stage in Rite of Passage? So book number 2, the mountain city, which is the place where Saria was captured. So question 3 was who captured her, and question 4 is where.
What is the name of their city? If you've read book 2, you'll be a definite advantage here. Big centrepiece of the action there.
Question 5. How many different elven races have we met so far? So by the end of book 2, how many different elven races? So how many different elves,
Types of elves.
have we met so far? I think that's tricky.
That is tricky, but I reckon there's some out there who could get that.
So question 5 is how many elven races? Question 6, all the elven races are ruled by one high king. What is his name?
We met him in book 2, and he was referred to in book 1 as well.
So who is the one high king of all the elves? Question 7. Sinsarin, the badass wood elf, is one of how many siblings? How many siblings are there? So that includes Sinsarin. How many siblings are there in total, including her? That's the question, right?
Yep. So she's one of a number of siblings. How many siblings? Dom Orchard, spoiler alert. Oh, sorry. Not that big a one.
So, question 8. In what kingdom is Oron Amular? So, Oron Amular is within what kingdom? Where is the place?
Again, check out that map. It's in every one of the books.
It is mentioned quite a lot. That one. So, in what kingdom does Oron Amular lie? Question 9. Culden from Sirison is one of the contestants. What is his rank?
So we met him at the end of book 2. So if you don't know the answer to that, flick to the end of book 2.
There's a bit about all of the contestants there. We're looking for Culden from Sirison. Culden from Sirison is one of the contestants.
Hi Wendy, nice to have you with us.
What is the rank of Culden from Sirison? And question 10, what race of competitors come from Carthag? So who comes from Carthag? What is the race of the competitors from a place called Carthag?
Again, just flick to the end of the book. You'll find the answers there in the guide to the races of Astrom. So check it out. If anyone needs any of those questions again, drop us a quick comment. We'll run back through them. In fact, Lucy, you want to read them all again?
Shall I read them again?
Yeah.
Okay, question 1. What country is Cerulean king of? Question 2. Cerulean's son and heir. What is his name? What is Cerulean's son called? Who captured Saria? Question 4. What is the name of the mountain city that takes centre stage in Rite of Passage? So where was Saria captured? Question 5. How many different races of elves have we met so far? Question 6. All of the elves are ruled by one high king. What is his name? Question 7. Sinsarin, the wood elf, is one of how many siblings? Question 8. In what kingdom does Oron Amular lie? Question 9. Culden from Sirison is one of the contestants. What is his rank? And question 10. What race of competitors come from Carthag?
Fantastic. So email your answers. Just a reminder.
worldofastrom@gmail.com.
And shortly after 9 o'clock, we'll look at the answers, see who got the most right. And if there's a tie, the winner will be the one who submitted their answers first. Now, I'd love you all to like the World of Astrom Facebook page. If you haven't already, go ahead and give that page a like. You follow all the news and updates. And you can also follow World of Astrom on both Twitter and Instagram. Please look me up and give me a follow there.
Lots of likes, please. Yay!
Now, are we ready for another book reading?
I think so. I think I'm ready for it. I'm still feeling a little bit...
Yeah, you're a bit shaken.
Yeah, the last one. It reminded me of lots of nightmares.
All right,
so
well, okay.
I think we need to move
Let's see. Hopefully this one isn't quite so intense. But we're a few minutes away from question time. So while I'm reading, think about what questions you would like to ask me. You can ask anything about the books or writing. Don't ask me about the election. But it's nearly time for the second book reading. This is early on in the book still. We join some of the contestants as they try to find their way through the mountain's bowels. Serious face. Rujark slammed into something hard. In a split second his hands reached out and managed to grab a chunk of rock. The torrent tugged powerfully at him, threatening to carry him away again, but he clung on grimly. He felt movement beside him and realised that he had collided with someone else. He tried shouting to the person, who could only be one of the royal guards, but above the roar of the water it was useless. He thought he heard another body go shooting past in the stream, but he could not be sure. Rujark felt the Armists moving, and he feared that he was about to be swept away, but it was not so. By chance, the line of their descent had taken them near the tunnel edge, where they thumped into a spine of rock. The spine marked the entrance of another opening, where the tunnel seemed to fork. His companion was not losing his grip, but rather clambering up out of the torrent. He felt boots move past his fingers, and a few moments later a hand was reached down to him. Glad to let go of the slippery rock, Rujark clasped the hand. Between it and his own scrabbling feet he managed to haul himself up. The second hand reached under his armpit and pulled him up. Next thing he knew, he was sitting in a damp aperture with the underground river gushing past beside him. He took a few moments to rid his ears of water and shake himself off. Blowing water out of his mouth, he looked across to see who his helper was. The Armists had to lean close to be seen in the gloom. It was Antire. He had not been immediately ahead of him in the headlong dash across the snake pit, so Alenus must have been carried away by the stream while Antire managed to cling on. Then, more by touch than by sight, he found the protruding knob of rock that had been their salvation. Carried close enough to grab it, they had managed to escape the strongest pull of the current. Without someone else, though, Rujark felt sure he wouldn't have been able to hold on. The side tunnel they were in wasn't exactly dry, with damp walls and puddles underfoot, but at least it didn't have the churning cascade of the main vent. He and Antire looked at each other. "Well, we managed to get out," said the guard. "Yes, but now we're completely separated from the others," Rujark commented. Antire looked rueful. "Should we go back down and try and follow them?" They both leaned over, peering down. They could see nothing but the white froth of the water. "We don't know what's down there, said Rujark, his voice echoing. Somehow neither of them could summon the courage to lower themselves back into that cold torrent. Reluctantly they agreed to go on together. Knowing Antire was an Armist of faith, Rujark encouraged them to stop and pray before going on. "Guide us, Praylan," they prayed in the blind blackness. "Lead us through and back to the others." They had to stoop to follow the tunnel, which ran gently down and round several bends. The ground underfoot became gradually drier, and the rushing, gurgling sounds of the water died away into the background. They were deep underground, in a capillary of the mountain, one of thousands for all they knew. They didn't know where they were, and they certainly had no idea of where they were going. After a while the slope started to level off and then became entirely flat. They followed a faint glow that appeared ahead of them, and rounding a corner came into a long, narrow hall. A series of wall sconces held waiting torches. It took quite some time, cold and wet as he still was, but eventually Rujark managed to light one, and once one was lit it was easy to set the rest ablaze. They were suspicious of this sudden provision, but too thankful for the heat and warmth to be deterred. Sitting down to rest, they regarded the hall in the light of the torches. It was a curious space, natural-looking and yet contrived at the same time. A series of rib-like protrusions stuck out from either wall, demarcating sections between them of roughly equal length that ran down the length of the hall. At each set of ribs, grooves could be seen in floor, walls and ceiling. The bays in between were rough-walled, and each held a torch on alternating sides. It was a curious arrangement, like the framework which had once held a succession of long-vanished doors. It seemed they were at the threshold of some kind of portal, with perhaps a significant part of the mountain beyond. Cautiously they moved forward. The quiet seemed so complete that they could hear the beating of one another's hearts. Then Antire unwittingly trod on a weak stone. Only too late did he see it was slightly raised and a different colour to the floor around it. An ominous series of grating, creaking noises came from all around them. For a few moments they stood frozen in terror, watching as slabs of rock a foot thick began lowering from the grooves in the ceiling. The grooves were actually gaps through which partitions were now descending, ready to slot into the matching grooves below. At first Rougeart went back, but then realised that would only lead back to the river. He recovered from his panic and followed Antaya, who had instinctively gone the other way. The first partition they passed easily enough, still high overhead, and the second, but by the time Rougeart reached the third one he had to stoop to get under it. Groaning with the strain of suspense, the next few slabs kept lowering. The end of the hall on the other side of them suddenly seemed very far away. They broke into a run, dashing headlong through the hall. Antaya was faster, leaving Rougeart behind and grabbing a torch, but they both had to crouch to get under the fourth partition. Antaya threw himself into a roll to get under the fifth and last one, but when Rougeart got close it was barely 2 feet off the ground. He dropped to his belly and squirmed frantically through. He pulled his sopping wet cloak through after him, only for the rock slab to come down on it, pinning it fast. With a sound like a sigh of satisfaction, the slabs all came to a rest in their allotted places, sunk deep in their grooves and unmovable. Breathing hard, Rougeart got to his feet and tore his cloak free, leaving a strip of it trapped behind. In a fit of anger he tore the rest of the cloak away and tossed it to the ground. It would only continue to encumber him. At least they had a torch which Antaya had managed to keep alight. When he was able to compose himself again, he said to his companion, "This mountain has tricks and traps everywhere. We must be wary with every step."
Oh my goodness, I really felt that one. I really felt that one again.
Can you see now why I've been telling people it's like a cross between The Hobbit and Indiana Jones?
Yeah, particularly that bit with the bits coming down. Yeah, and the bit about like the cold and the wet. I suddenly got all shivery.
So if you went to Oron Amular, be careful where you step, and there's no going back for them now. So you got to get that book to find out what happens next.
Oh yeah, it really is epic.
So I hope you enjoyed that. And if you want to read more and find out what happens next, please buy the book. Order your copy by commenting now. You can order it at any online bookshop, but by coming direct to me, you'll get a limited edition signature copy. It's just £10 or only £7 for those who bought books 1 and 2.
Yes, we are definitely repaying loyalty here. So yeah, don't forget to tag people and to get your answers to the quiz into worldofastrom@gmail.com. Don't worry, I'm not repeating the questions for you again. However, it is now time for you to ask the questions. We really, really enjoyed this last time. We loved having your questions, getting to discuss what you guys want to know about the books, about Oron Amular as a whole. So yeah, now is the opportunity to ask your questions. So put them in the comments and we will make sure that we get to them. I'm just going to start the ball rolling. So get thinking, get writing your questions down.
Yeah, let us know what you want to know more about. Which characters would you like to read the backstory of on the blog? What places would you like to find out more about? Drop those in the comments as well.
Yeah, what do you want to know about Mike as a writer and how he's come up with all these ideas? I mean, I asked earlier, did you get it from nightmares? And I think after book 3...
That's why I won't be reading it to the boys.
Yeah, I think after book 3 you'll definitely be asking, how did you come up with these ideas? So my question is, Mike, how does it feel to have the trilogy complete? Look at this. If you wondered why Mike didn't publish it all in one, but look at the size of that. I mean, that is
a beast of a book altogether.
That's a beast. That's really big. How does it feel to have the trilogy complete?
Gosh, I just want to take a moment just to reflect on the fact I've got all 3 in my hands now, which is just fantastic. You know, I've been waiting so long for this. This really is the culmination of a dream. It just feels fantastic. You know, so exciting to have the whole story out there now, because for a year people have been wanting to know what happens next, and it's been left on cliffhangers. But now we've got the whole book, and that's just fantastic. And I think I mentioned earlier that I've just felt so excited to see how excited other people have been getting. I've been really touched by that. It's a real highlight of being an author, is to see people asking questions, getting into it. But you know, publishing the book, my first book, a year ago was a dream come true. I've been waiting years for that, and by the grace of God it finally came true. And ever since that, I've been living the dream. It's been exhausting. It's been exhilarating. I wouldn't have had it any other way. It's just fantastic. It's so good to have the trilogy. complete.
And it was exciting, wasn't it? Like, knowing that it was a trilogy. So knowing that, like, when you'd got book 1 out there, 2 and 3 were going to follow. There wasn't going to be this big gap of, you know, what do I do?
Yeah,
what do I do next? How do I get the next book out while people are still interested?
Yeah, kind of a sense of closure now as well. That, you know, it's there. Yeah.
But no, it was good. The first one having that anticipation, and the second one.
There was always something to look forward to.
Don't
worry, there still is.
So Andrew Miller asks, will there be a sequel? How many books do you think you have in you?
Perfect question. At last count, I think about 60. So if I get to write full time, I will get those out much quicker. But seriously, you know, every week I feel that tally goes up. I mean, I could write a dozen books on the history of the League of Wizardry. You know, there are some epic tales in their backstory. Believe you me, this is at the end of their story. So there's so much there. And likewise, Cerulean's ancestors, they've been involved in all the epic deeds of Astron. So there is definitely lots more to come. You know, there's going to be a prequel at some point about Cerulean's youth and what happened to him. We've seen hints of it in the book. What shaped this amazing king of Maristonia, and you know. But the big thing, the next thing that's coming, is the sequel to Oron Amular. This is just the beginning, guys. It's all setting you up for something that will follow. Unfortunately, it's not written yet, or at least, you know, it was written when I was 17 and it badly needs a rewrite. So that is the next project. It will probably be 4 books, I'm hoping. It's going to be bigger and better than Oron Amular. And yeah, we really want to find out, what is Kaluthiel up to? What is this all about? What's going to happen? You know, who are these people? And so, you know, we are going to see more of some of these characters. Trust me.
Very exciting. So Tim Headley asks, how did you go about creating the characters' names?
Hi Tim, good to have you with us. Good question. Some of them, like Rujak, I genuinely have no idea where that came from. That came from very early on in my writing career. You know, when I was like, you know, maybe not even a teenager, really, really young, and it was just a name that happened to stick, and I had to kind of retrofit a meaning and an association to it. Cerulean was another one of the early ones, you know, so that one doesn't have a neat meaning in the Elvish language just because it's such an old name before I'd written the language. But once I'd written the language, it was much easier to find the distinctive names associated with each race and with each country. So they, you know, you get a sense for the sort of the style of names. They mean something. They have their common sort of endings and things. So, you know, I was able to use like different elements and start fitting them together in different ways. So there is definitely a logic to it. And I'm often looking for, you know, something that will capture a sense of the character in the Elvish meaning of their name. So it won't be immediately apparent, but as you delve into it, you'll start to get a sense for why they were named as they were named. But yeah, some of them just come out of thin air. I can't explain it.
It sounds like you have sort of quite a French influence on some of them, like Rougeac and Cerulean, and some of them have a much softer sound than we would normally have in English.
I mean, if you think, all these countries have come from Elvish stock originally. It was the Elves who spread across Astron, and then the other races came in and they sort of inherited that Elven culture. So that's why there is some similarity and crossover. But if you think about medieval Europe, how many different countries there were squashed together in a relatively small space, and lots of different names and traditions. That's kind of what you've got going on in Astron.
Cool. Dominic Orchard. Hi, Dom.
Hey, Dom.
Says, what are the physical differences between Armists and humans?
Okay, good question. So Armists are shorter and stockier than humans. They originated in the mountains, and they've definitely got a sort of, you know, not quite Sherpa. They're a bit more sort of sturdy than that, but they are a mountain race. They are not so dissimilar from humans to look at, especially after they've spent literally millennia now in the company of humans and elves. You know, they've become more cultured, more sophisticated in that time. So they are more, it's almost like a different race than a species with massive physiological differences. You know, most of their distinctive characteristics are actually in how they conduct themselves, in their attitudes and their outlook.
And Armis was a creation of your own. That's totally unique to you, isn't it?
No one else has that. That was one of my own creations. Again, from very early on. Just had this idea that there was a race that came from the mountains, you know, and in a way they're kind of distantly related to dwarves, but they are much, much closer to humans than dwarves. So if you've got a continuum of dwarves here, humans here, then the Armists are... It's hard to do them in a reflection, but they're much closer to the humans.
Yeah, and in the Races of Astrom at the back of book 3, it starts with Armists and gives you that explanation there as to what they're like.
Yeah.
So that's great. Charlotte Dodds.
Hi, Charlotte.
She says, how did you come up with these? Can you finish the question so we know what these
Come up with these
are?
what, yeah.
And we'll come back to that. So, Charlotte, just give us your question again. Abby McLennan.
Hi, Abby. Thanks for being with us again.
I asked last time, but any updates on an audiobook recording?
I'm sorry, I have not got as far with that as I had hoped to. I've been so busy getting the third book out and ready and working on the sequel, but I am hoping to find some time over this winter to get the audiobook ready. So I've already recorded bits of chapter 1, so obviously haven't got that far into the Court of the Mountain, but I hope to post that on my website soon, probably on YouTube as well, just so you can get a feel for it. And there will be more to follow there. So it is definitely still on the to-do list, but it's not ready yet, I'm afraid.
Yeah, unfortunately, having both of the children home all day during lockdown kind of
so few opportunities.
Diminished the amount of time that Mike had when the house was nice and quiet to do any audio recording.
Yeah, and it kind of means I have to boot Lucy out of the living room, which has the best acoustics. So yeah, I will get there, promise.
You may have it in the winter when the living room's colder, okay?
Yeah, great.
Cool. So, Andrew Chamberlain. Hi, Andrew. Mike.
Hello.
What books, films, TV, etc. have inspired you and your writing?
Okay, so Tolkien was the first and biggest influence. That's where I really learned about the concept of world building and sub-creation. I just love his style, and I was definitely setting out to emulate him to begin with. But since then, I've been increasingly trying to distance myself from that. I've been finding my own style, and just a whole range of other influences have come in. So Christian fantasy writers like Stephen Lawhead were a big influence early on. Bernard Cornwell taught me how to write battle scenes. I love Indiana Jones on TV. There were some kids cartoons and some Steven Spielberg films like The Goonies. I just take bits from all over the place. I've been reading a lot more fantasy recently, so the likes of Brandon Sanderson, Stephen Erickson, and of course George R.R. Martin. I've been taking influences from there, and I've seen from these guys and others how to really characterize well in fantasy, because sometimes fantasy is guilty of just having these sort of paper thin characters. It's really quite shallow, so I've been learning how to give them depth, how to really bring them out.
You're quite influenced by music as well, aren't you, when you're writing?
Yeah, definitely. It helps me get those sort of word pictures in my mind when I'm listening to the epic soundtracks, amazing sort of, heroic music. The Bible is an influence. Some of the stories in the Old Testament, particularly early on, I just think they're fantastic. I draw a lot of inspiration from there. And also Greek and Norse myths and history, things that I know have happened in the ancient world, in medieval Europe. There's loads of influences that come from those directions too.
Cool. I can always tell what sort of thing Mike is writing based on the music he's listening to when he's writing.
Yeah, every night there's always the sound of footsteps of someone coming up to tell me to turn the music down. I need to get some decent headphones.
I do, and to be honest, there are points when I'm like, I know not to interrupt Mike because that particular music is on and he's going to be deep in it.
Yeah, that's definitely part of the writing method. Candles are on, the music's playing. It's just,
atmospheric.
Trying to immerse myself in the right atmosphere.
It's very atmospheric, your room when you're writing. Chloe Page. Hi,
Chloe.
Says, which character was the most fun to write? Now, don't give anything away from book 3. Because people haven't read it, so no spoilers if there's any characters in book 3 that we haven't come across. But who, so far in books 1 and 2, was the most fun to write? All
right, I'm going to go with 2 of the guys from Aranar, which is the land of the Horse Lords. We met them at the end of book 2. I'm going to try not to give too much away there if you haven't read book 2 yet. But there's a couple of guys, Sufalar, who is the leader, the ruler, called the Jontar, which means the Horse Lord. He was great fun to write because he's big and blustering, and it was just fun to have someone with a really different sort of tone and register in what they said. Someone who would bully others and swear and just bluster around. That was great fun. And he's got a scribe with him. Sort of in his train. He's kind of like part healer, part historian type person, and he is just ridiculously posh and irreverent and, just, constantly drunk. So he was a lot of fun to write because he would just say outrageous things, but you sense there's a lot going on under the surface there. He is not, the complete fool that he might seem to be on first appearance. So, after the Armists tour, they're rock hard and they're quite serious. It was fun to write some really fun, larger than life characters.
So you said there were two. Was that?
Two, yes, Sufala and Kaya-san.
Very cool. Will Salmon. Hi,
hey,
Will.
Thanks for joining us.
Mike, how many hours are there in your day? I can swear you have more. Yeah.
Not enough. Not enough. I just have to be really disciplined with my time in the evening. So I do not let myself binge on Netflix, and I don't get to read half as much as I'd like. So most evenings I am world building. If I'm not with our midweek group or going to church or spending time with the family, then I am writing. I am drawing maps. I am thinking of ideas. I'm scribbling things down. And even on my lunchtime walks, when I get out from work, I'm in the world, put the music in, and I'm just thinking about it. What comes next, and I use the term Imagineering for building the blocks that I'm going to write with in my mind, and then when I come to write, it flows so much easier. So yeah, discipline, hard work, perseverance. That's what helps.
So Mike works a full-time job. Then he puts the boys to bed, so he does all of bedtime in the evenings, and then he goes and gets on and works on Oron Amular. So, yeah, he definitely makes very good use of his time, don't you?
Yeah.
And we still have date night every Friday.
Absolutely.
No work on a Friday.
No, that's a priority.
That was a really good thing that came into lockdown. Actually, during lockdown, Mike was like, "I'm having an evening where I do nothing. I don't do any of this stuff." And
so nice to have an evening when you do nothing.
Yeah, it's been really good. We've really enjoyed having date night.
And that just helps you keep going for when you do then get back down to the work. But it doesn't feel like work. It's so much fun. I love this. I would do this even if I wasn't selling books. So
cool. Sandra Roper.
Hey, Sandra.
Really, this is a really interesting.
And Doug, hey, if you're there.
This is a really interesting question. When you think of Astrom, what colours do you see and why?
Oh, good question. Well, I suppose it kind of depends where you are. If you were to look at a colour map, and this is why you need to follow me on Instagram, because there's all kinds of cool maps that go up on there. I put up a hand-coloured map, and admittedly the green came out a bit more garish than I wanted, but you got a sense for the different terrain types on Astrom. So you got like this, orange, red, from the arid south of the deserts, and then you go all the way through the temperate zones until you get to the far north, 4,000 miles further north, which they are touching on the poles almost. They're in the far wintry north where it's just ice and whiteout and blank winter wilderness all year round. And in between you've got other countries. So the colours really vary depending on which country you're talking about. So Calamar has these almost blindingly bright limestone cliffs that are studded with gems, and there's pearls on the beach and all of that, and these golden strands and these green woods and sparkling rivers and snow-capped mountains. But in Maristonia, it's much more of a Mediterranean style, so you get some of those Tuscan hues coming in, those oranges, browns, deep greens, sort of purples as well. And I could go on. There are other countries, the rich rolling green hills of Arana. You got imposing mountains between Hendar and Ithril, and Ithril has these amazing large forests of sort of white trees that are almost luminescent at night. So that's got quite a distinct colouring to it as well. So, was that what you meant?
I think it's quite interesting actually that you've talked about quite a lot of green in that, but the book covers, which we can see behind us, there's very little. I mean, there's a tiny bit of green on the bottom of the mountain there, but they're mainly, the fantastic dark blue and the oranges and a bit of red. There's not a lot of green in the books, the book covers as we have them at the moment.
And that's partly a decision on how we wanted the book covers to look. I mean, we could have gone with a forest scene for the first book, in which we would have had these sort of, dark, intense, mysterious forest greens going on. But yeah, there's forests and plains. We will see those other places, so I can't wait to see what might be on the cover of the next book.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Sandra, if that's not quite what you were getting
Yeah,
at,
feel
then...
free to ask the question again. I feel like I might have misunderstood, but
Yeah, because I now, when I look at it, you know, these colours, particularly I find with book 3, because it's got the blue at the bottom, which was in book 1, and then the orange in the middle, which was from book 2, and the red at the top in the mountain. I kind of feel like this one sort of encapsulates all of the colours that I now associate with Oron Amular. But yeah, definitely the greens of the forest and the white of the mountains and the snow. They sort of, for me, that's really what comes to mind.
Yeah, it's a nice colour palette.
So Charlotte Dodds says, sorry, the question earlier, that was Oscar. Hi, Oscar.
Hey, Oscar. That's my nephew.
Pressed the button too soon. So Chris is running it. Hi, Chris. Hi,
Hey,
Dodgy.
Chris.
Oscar would like to know how you came up with the story. I believe he is your biggest fan.
Oh, my biggest fan. I love you, Oscar. Great. I'm glad that they let you stay up for this. How did I come up with the story? Well, you've got to go back a long, long way. I was, probably 13 or so when I, came up with this idea in the first instance. And I've been kind of stitching together some things. I'd seen Indiana Jones, I'd read The Hobbit, I'd been watching these cartoons and Steven Spielberg films, and I just had this idea for an adventure that took place in a mountain. I just felt convinced that there was a world inside a mountain. And it was hidden, and it was lost, and it was mysterious, and yet there was a sort of a rediscovering of it by the outside world. And I just love that idea of you step through the doors, you have no idea what's inside, and wow, there's so much in here. I think one of the characters says, there's a whole world in here, and it literally is true in several ways. But the other strand to it was this tournament idea of, that they were competing for prizes. What is Kaluthiel going to give them? The League of Wizardry has had, mighty weapons and artifacts of power for centuries, millennia. You just wonder, what might they be giving away and why? So yeah, just really wanted to have, characters come together and fight it out, and have to overcome all these challenges to win their prizes, and then maybe it's not quite what they thought it was all about. So yeah, and then I created the journey to the mountain to go with that. So it's been a long time in coming. It's been refined over the years, but that's where it came from.
Cool. I'm really sorry, I've lost some of the questions. So if you've asked your question between Charlotte Dodds' question, where she says about Oscar, #Uncle Love, and Kurt Ketnabara's question, if your question is between those, can you just resend it again, because I've lost the ones that were in between those ones.
Cool.
So
Kurt, Melanie, great to see you.
Hi,
Thanks
Kurt.
for being with us.
Yeah, we're just going to go to your question, and then we'll come back to any of those that I missed. So Kurt says, how many hours a day do you write, and are all the hours productive, or are there tons of paper on the floor, so to speak? Also, sounds like a great dad. He is a great dad.
Oh, thank you.
And yay for date night. Yay for date night.
How many hours? Okay, so I try and write, or I try and do something with Astron for at least an hour a day. And it might be in a lunchtime, it might be before I start work, it might be in the evening. It kind of varies, but I try and do at least an hour a day. And it might not necessarily be writing. I might just be writing some notes. I might just be thinking through it. I might have seen a picture on Pinterest. I think, yeah, that gives me an idea. Let me write some notes about that. Or I might be working on a map. So I generally need at least an hour to try and get into it, because you need to get your head in the right space, tear myself out of the real world, if you like. So of that hour, probably only 40 minutes is really productive, because I've got to really wind up into it. But when I'm writing prose, when I'm actually writing the story, I need 2 or 3 hours at a chunk. Otherwise it just takes so long to get in the right place, to remember where I am, where I've got to, what's going on, and just everything, all these different strands you've got to hold in tension. So yeah, I try and at least twice a week I try and get in a decent writing slot of 2 to 3 hours. So in that time I can churn out a few thousand words, and not all of it is good. Yeah, I will come back to it the next week. I will work with some of it. I'll change bits. But one of my big pieces of advice is to other writers out there is not to edit too much as you go along. You just get it out, get a first draft finished, and then you can improve it. Because if you edit as you go along, you'll never get it finished. But there's plenty of time when it's frustrating and I can't quite get it, and I chuck stuff away. And that's the beauty of computers. You can just delete, cut and paste. You know, it's not a great problem. But Lucy will tell you my book is absolutely covered with. My room is covered with books and papers and journals and maps and
oh my goodness, and
drowning in them.
And that's really helpful for me actually, because so often I'll be like, oh, how was your writing tonight? And he'll be like, oh, I didn't do any actual writing. And I'll be like, well, what have you been doing all this time?
I measured the distance between these places, and I worked out how this economy worked, and I added these names, and you know, all sorts of stuff.
It is all helpful for building. I didn't really understand how all of these other things are helpful for building the future stories.
It's so difficult, especially in the sequel where you've got so many different character strands. You've got to keep control of them, and you've got to understand what's going on simultaneously. You know, when are these different things happening, so you can keep it consistent. Otherwise, the story's just going to make no sense whatsoever. So there's a lot of planning going in.
Yeah, yeah. Will Salmon again. When you write your characters, do you have real life people in mind?
Very rarely is the honest answer there. I don't intentionally write characters after people that I know. Sometimes, you know, traces of people do creep in. I can't. Some of the names are evocative of people that I've known in my life, but you know, the characters are not based on real people. They're kind of amalgamations of what I have seen in human life, kind of, you know, then wrapped together, and you know, what do I want in this character. So, you know, it's more often, to be honest, you know, mixture of things I've read in books and seen on films, and just, you know, not real people that I've met necessarily. But there are strains of that come through. So yeah, there is no character based on Lucy. There's no character based on me, or any of the people that are close to me. So I don't really do that.
I kind of feel a little bit sad that there isn't a character based on me, but then at the same time, I'm not entirely sure I'd really want to know.
Yeah, would you? I think I get in trouble.
Form. If there was one based on me, that would be quite funny. Yeah, do send your comments through. If you had a question between, I think Bev, you had a question between Charlotte and Kurt. I can't unfortunately come out of the chat on my phone to find it, because then I lose everything again. So do put it in the comments. Charlotte, I think you've tried to message me some information. I can't see it without coming out. So do put it in the comments if I have missed your question and you want it answered. Otherwise, Matt Taylor. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Matt.
Number one fan, Matt Taylor there. Are there
Definitely.
any plans to meet any more wizards in the future?
Ooh, well, you know, do you want the spoilers or do you not?
No spoilers. No spoilers.
There will be wizards. Plural.
Ooh, that's exciting.
That's all I'm going to say. Matt, you're going to get me into trouble here by getting me to reveal too much, but...
And Tim Headley says, you're a wizard, Mike.
Oh, Tim, thank you.
We've got our very own here already. So, Charlotte, what was your favourite chapter to write? Oh, I think Bev's question, actually, sorry, Chaz. Bev's question, I think, was, which character do you dislike most?
Ooh, do you mean the one that I have the least regard for, or the one that I find hardest to write?
Let's go for both.
Okay, the one that I dislike most. There's a couple...
and why? She says, and why? Thanks for reposting there, Charlotte. And why?
Which one do I dislike the most? Okay, let's see.
This is going to be tricky for you because you're not allowed to mention characters we haven't met yet in book 3.
Yeah, I know. All right.
Not that there are any unpleasant ones in there, but just, you know, not to give spoilers.
Okay,
away.
so there's a party that's come from a country called Hendar. It's a royal entourage. There is a young cocksure king who is arrogant and full of himself, and is surrounded by bad advisors who are just dodgy. They are, you know, sinister or, you know, privileged and entitled. They're a bunch of gits, really. That's quite fun to write in some ways. It's, you know, quite fun watching nobler characters interact with them, because they don't like each other. But yeah, they're fun to write, but I can't stand them. My goodness, I would hate to meet them.
Was that quite fun writing characters that you would dislike them in person?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is good fun. And again, I hasten to add, not based on anyone I know. Let me say that the hardest to write, always the elves, because they've lived for so long. There is so much in their backstory. How do you convey that? How do you convey that much experience, that much life experience? You think how an older human speaks, after they've had all this experience. They've been there, they've done that, they've seen it all. They speak very differently, and they draw upon that wisdom, and they've got all these anecdotes that they're referring to all the time, all these references, and everything. How do you do that over 3,000 years or more? I mean, Saria, goodness, no, she's more like 9,000 years old. She is ancient, and how do you write that? That's really difficult, especially since I don't know all the details of her past yet because I haven't written it. I've got a framework, so that was one of the most challenging characters to write. Saria, some of the other elves as well. They're fun to write because they have a very different perspective on life, a very different mindset, very different. Brains are wired differently, but challenging.
Cool. Next question is, what was your favourite chapter to write? Sure.
Favourite chapter to write in book 3?
Without giving anything away, yes. In book 3, which was your favourite chapter to write in book 3?
Okay, it's probably the longest chapter, which you will get to. It is just non-stop action. It is, just constant pitfalls and challenges and struggles as they go through the mountain, and just everything gets chucked at these guys. So you're in for a real treat. That was so much fun to write. I just almost didn't want to bring the chapter to a stop. I could have thrown in so much more there.
And it's really long already.
It's really long. Yeah, it's almost as long as the whole of the first book. To be honest, it's long.
Cool. And final question from Chris Harvey. Hi, Chris.
Hey, bro.
When they turn it into a film, where should they use to shoot Maristonia?
Where should they shoot Maristonia? You're going to need to go to probably a mixture of Spain and Italy to get a feel for Maristonia. So Rougearc grew up in the foothills of the mountains, so you kind of an alpine feel, Turin and up into the valleys of the Alps there. But by the time you get down to Sicily, you're getting towards the south of Maristonia. Maristonia is a city like no other. There is no comparative city in this world. It is immense and it is epic in many ways. But yeah, you'd be looking for some of those sort of old medieval quarters, some of the the big old palaces that you need to draw on. Some of the French chateaux as well would come in handy there. But then, for other locations, you would need somewhere quite different. So Calamar is a lot more temperate. That would feel a bit more like France. And there are other countries further north where you'd need more of a Scandinavian feel for it.
That's cool. Tim Headley says...
I thought you said that was the last question. Were you squeezing one more in?
It's not a question. Tim Headley says, I thought you'd like to know I've poured an 18-year-old single malt in celebration tonight. Good for you,
Fantastic.
Tim.
Where's my one?
Actually, we have an enormous cake.
We've got the cake to get into, yeah. Thanks again, Bev.
Tuck into. So yeah, that's all the questions. Thank you so much for your questions. If you have any more questions for Mike, put them in the comments and Mike will get in touch with you after we've finished up tonight to answer your questions. Thank you so much for all those questions. Are amazing.
Yeah, so thank you. That's great. And yeah, and again, if there are particular characters you want to know more about, I've been doing a sort of Meet the Cast series on my blog. Just put a comment in and I will prioritise those characters to come next and tell you more. But if you'd like to get updates about the sequel, then follow me on social media. Like the World of Astrom page on Facebook. Follow World of Astrom on Twitter and Instagram. But probably the best way to do it is to sign up for emails at the website, worldofastrom.com. You can do it on the Facebook page as well. So Facebook page or website, go there, sign up for the email updates. You will get regular updates about how I'm getting on with the sequel as I start to write it. There might even be a chance to have a sneak preview at some of the drafts. So if you'd like to get involved, do please subscribe.
I'm assuming there won't be updates of it's all going badly.
Well, there might be a little bit of that, but I look forward to sharing that and taking some people with me on the journey.
Cool. So
prize winners time.
Prize winning time. Woo! So thank you so much everyone for having a go at the quiz. Thank you everyone for tagging. We are going to reveal the winners now. Yes, that is her. They're the same person.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Sorry, we're just... So the winner of the quiz... Sorry, we've realised that her email address is actually her maiden name.
Yeah, so we thought it was the wrong person. But congratulations to Rebecca Taylor.
Yay!
Very well done. You are the winner.
Oh,
Well
what
done.
does she win?
She wins a copy of the book. So congratulations. We will get that to you in due course. Well done.
Fantastic. Okay, secondly...
The winner of the review prize. This was open to anyone who posted a review of book 2 on Goodreads during October. There have been some wonderful reviews, and I just want to thank everyone who took the time to write one. I really appreciate it. It's a big help and a big encouragement to me, so thank you. But there can only be one winner, and that winner is the person who wrote this.
The epic continues in this wonderful second part to the Oron Amular trilogy. The writing continues to be well-paced and vividly descriptive so that the world, characters and adventures come alive as you read. If you enjoyed the first one, don't hesitate to pick this one up, as it's even better than the first. If you're a fan of high fantasy, I couldn't recommend this series more highly.
So you probably know who you are already. Matt Taylor, congratulations. Thank you so much for that review. You just won a copy of the book. Thank you so much. Enjoy. A signed copy will be on its way to you very shortly.
So we put all of the people that did a review, we put their names in a hat, and Ethan picked the winner. So Ethan picked
I had
you.
nothing to do with it. So
Yeah.
well done. You can thank him. So we're coming to the end now, and it's time to announce our final prize winner of the night. Lucy, who is it who won the free book giveaway for tagging their friends? The winner drawn at random was...
It was Kurt Kettner-Burrow. Whee! Well done, Kurt.
Fantastic. Well done, Kurt. Thank you for taking part, everyone. Kurt, we will get a book to you. I don't know how yet, but we will get one to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for tagging all your friends and for joining in tonight. It's just been, we've had so much fun.
This has been a lot of fun
amazing.
again. And listen, for those who didn't win, do please still encourage your friends to get the book. It'll make a great companion on long winter nights. And it'll make a great Christmas present too. So, and if you want to binge read all three, you can still pick up all the 3 books for a bulk rate. But just think, who would like to be whisked off to another world full of adventure and magic? Point them my way.
Yeah.
That's it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me, or joining us, I should say. It's been wonderful to have you here. Your support means a great deal. And I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. So go and get Power Unimaginable, and happy reading.
Yay! So, buy the book, read it, review it. We'd really love to know what you think about it. Don't be shy about telling your friends.
Spread the word.
You can help us to spread the word. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Happy reading, and God bless.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.